Hello there, everyone. Deacon Phil here. Welcome back. The word vocation is a pretty odd word, don't you think? It derives from the Latin vocare, meaning to call. Typically, we use vocation to reference those who respond to the call to the priesthood, sometimes those who feel a call to the permanent diaconate, as well as professed brothers and sisters. Each of these usages are life-changing, divine calls to sacrificial service to God, and most often to the people of God. We also know that God calls each of us to a particular path in life. Some have a vocation to the married state, and others have a vocation to the single life. And whether the call is to be professed, single, married, or ordained, the call is one to invest ourselves, to give ourselves fully to God's mission. We know how that looks in the ordained or professed states. I'm sure that you have a favorite priest or nun or monk or maybe even a deacon who has given you an example about how to be all in for Jesus. For me, that would have to be Father Jack McCormick. Father Jack's photo should accompany the dictionary entry for priest. From his demeanor at Mass, to the way he walked with people who wanted to become Catholic, to how he interacted with parishioners, especially children, on a day-to-day basis. Each week, he was a tangible, living reflection of Jesus in the life of Catholics in Billerica for more than 25 years, an example for us to follow based on the life of Christ. But I have also been profoundly changed by the witnesses and actions of so many parishioners in their love and sacrifice and listening to God's call in their life. They too were all in for their vocation to follow Jesus. An endless stream of witnesses testify to this daily in our parishes. Those who serve our youth in their faith formation, those who serve the poor and the needy at great personal cost, those who volunteer their efforts and time to make our liturgies the best that they can be, those who visit the sick and the homebound, and countless others in countless other ways. Recently, I was privileged to hear of a parishioner who even donated a kidney to a fellow parishioner after hearing of their plight. Talk about being all in for Jesus through service to others. Whether we are single, married, ordained, or professed, we are called to be truly all in for God, committed to His call for us. Often, though, this requires sacrifice and the reorienting of our lives to one of service for others. As ordained and professed people, we must love, really love our calling, and pour ourselves out for the Jesus who died for us and for His people. We must live for the people of God in whatever setting we find ourselves. As single and married people, we must be an indisputable sign of God's love in the world. There should be no question of how we live differently and why and for whom. As single people, we must listen to the Lord's call to find the way that He wants us to serve Him through others in our workplaces and in our parishes, within our families and social groups, always loving Jesus who loved us first. As married people, we should especially love our spouses as ourselves and be dedicated to our children, loving and sacrificing for them, often placing their needs before our own. Marriage can at times be difficult, but God gives us the grace we need to work through each situation, keeping us always in His care and safe. In order to live a life fully in service to God's call, God gives us gifts and skills and talents that can be used to help bring about the kingdom of God. Gifts for us to use for the benefit of all. Some are spiritual gifts, as St. Paul lays out in chapter 12 of his first letter to the Corinthians, but others are secular talents that we are meant to use for God's greater glory. What God calls us to, God helps us through. Sometimes we express vocation as a one-time call from God to us. You've heard it called, he or she heard the call. But I think we sell God short if we assume that we only hear one call and then are left alone by God. Instead, doesn't it make more sense that the same God who calls us into ministry and a life together with Him also calls us time and time again to a deeper relationship with Him, and perhaps at times a new focus or even a different expression of how to live out His vocation in our life? Perhaps it might even require deep change. God's constant care and vocation is there for us, and it is real. It is through God's call to us that we recognize and fully embrace God's love for us. I pray that we remain open to the call of Jesus, that we listen for how He is calling us right now, so that we can fully participate in His life of faith, growing ever closer to Him who alone saves us. If you appreciate these videos and wish to be emailed as new videos are released, please sign up at the link in the description below. See you again soon.